So how to love? Well, if you find the unified field of love, if you locate where it is, who it is, where it is, then you will always see that everything arising in love, that the first thing that is occurring, and the thing that's prior to everything is love, is a unified field of love, and that everything appears in it. And as everything appears in it, it has different levels of choices and intelligence, but what love and happiness is. So everybody's doing everything to be happier, but that's their motive. That's why even a lot of bad people don't think they're bad. And when they even get convicted of things, they still don't think they're bad. They still don't think they made a mistake. There's lots of people suffered at their hands, but they don't register it because they only registered the pleasure they got from their actions. Now the consequences that happened and put them in jail, are not their actions they feel. So they're not responsible for that. They feel like, I was right, it worked out, I don't know what these people are doing, and now I'm the victim, but I'm still right. So they find happiness and satisfaction out of being right. So they can never admit it because they can't draw the consequences. They can't say, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened. Ooh, this happened, this happened. Ooh, bad. They can't get it. So they're probably going to be born into a life where they're the victim of a crime that they committed on other people, so they can actually understand it. So then they can figure out what's a truer happiness that doesn't have consequences. So sex has always been mixed up with power, to be able to dominate somebody through the sexual act, through the sexual connection with somebody. That's existed forever and still exists and will always probably exist until people see the terrible consequences. But in any given time, there's people who are growing who see the consequences, and there's people who are struggling with that. And then there's people who deny the consequences. The consequences of their actions are everybody else's fault, not theirs. So they can't grow yet. So, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Does that help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to look at yourself as your job, where you go to your job, you try to get better over the years, right? You try to do better, and hopefully you succeed, make more money, do better. And to look at your own life and how successfully you're living it through your capacity to grow deeper, to be more loving, to be kinder, to be more cooperative, those kind of things. It's most people don't look at their life like their job. If you did, like say you studied music, over the years you would want to be better at it. Mm-hmm. But most people can't look at their lives like that job. Like, I'm doing this to do this. They don't know why they're doing it. They think they're just, unconsciously everybody's just trying to get happier. And so all their choices are about a choice for happiness. But like I said, if it has a lot of consequences, it wasn't a very intelligent choice. You have to find the choices, the actions, and the life that you can live where happiness doesn't have bad consequences. So someone on the spiritual path says, okay, I want to do the choices that will bring about a more profound happiness, a deeper happiness, a truer happiness. And so they set up their life to, they eat well, do exercise, meditate, have a responsible way of making their living, careful and caring in their relationships, and they continue to do that, and over the period of time, they learn what happens when they make good choices. And you get the success of good choices. So when you have the success of good choices, so you meditate well and all your life functions are good, you find that there's a deepening. There's a deepening in you being happy. And you feel like you're happy for no real reason. Before, you always had to have a reason. And we've always been told we have to have a reason to be happy. But what if there are no reasons, that you are just... If you locate yourself out in the unified field of love, you find that you just are happy. And what is it to be happy? And to be happy on a deeper level is to be happy if you're walking in the hospital and everyone's dying of COVID, and you're there to visit your dying friend, and you're there to bring them love and your real heart energy, and not collapse into your own emotions and reactions that you used to have, but you don't have them anymore because you're there to bring love. You always know that you're there to bring love, rather than you're just there having a reaction to whatever about life you don't like. There's a lot about life you don't have to like. I mean, just the whole process of aging and getting older and dying, what's to like about any of that? I mean, you're in a good age right now, so it's pretty fun to be, in your 30s or 16 or whatever, or parts of the 40s, But yeah, it's not really fun to age, so what is a life then? There's so much obvious that there isn't real happiness here, that there is a lot of things that can offend you here, that you don't like. And that's on just a natural basis. I'm not talking about what people do to each other either, or what you can do to yourself, that's negative. So in a good sadhana, you are walking down that road of self-discovery, or that process of discovering that, yes, happiness is your condition, and you're located in the unified field of love in the regard with your teacher. Your teacher abides as that is that land. I always refer to myself, or I refer to place more than person for me. Like, places are very valuable to me. That's why I call it the unified field of love. So I have many, many places that I know of, live in, go to, both on a physical and spiritual level. And these places are possible for everyone. So where you are, you're in a place, and this place is the earth realm and a dreaming realm. And the dreaming here is basically about personal fulfillment. Everybody's looking for personal fulfillment. But the conditions to do it in are pretty rough. They're pretty rough. So that's why there's a lot of, I would say, victim mentality here, because you're just, everybody feels it's unfair that you're here, you want to be happy, and there's so much here that's unhappy. There's so much here saying you can't get happy because of all the conditions here. There's so much going on. This is the kind of dreaming realm. And yet there's people here who have come here to dream this dream, to find out what happiness is in the worst of conditions. So if you find out in worst conditions and you choose those conditions, you have terrible consequences. So that can bring about a profound recognition or reconciliation of like, oh, what's going on here? It can open your eyes. If you're in one of those heavens I was talking about earlier, if you were in one of those heavens where you're just going to be blissful, that's a place. So you can go to that place. What will you learn in that place? You have to go there and find out. Yeah. But what are you learning here? What is this place? You can be really offended about everything here, and you can be really mad about all of it too, and I feel you have every right. But if you don't take that anger and your offense and say, okay, that's not for me, that kind of love or that kind of fulfillment is not for me, it has terrible consequences. You have to have a conviction that there's a purer kind of love, a purer kind of happiness than that. We're so used to negative drama as a form of pleasure. It has terrible consequences too, but we like negative drama too because there's a form of pleasure to it, like gossip, has pleasure to it. Backbiting people has pleasure to it, but it has consequences. It crushes your own heart. You don't want to do things that crush your heart. I tell this story years ago when I was doing my sadhana. My teacher recommended saying no to past thoughts and future thoughts. And a friend of mine called me up and said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm doing this exercise. And he said, for how long? And I said, I guess however long it takes, I don't know. And he said, well, what is it? And I said, say no to past thoughts and future thoughts. And he said, well, how do you do that? And I said, well, when a thought comes up, if that's a thought about the past, say no. If it's a thought about the future, say no. So you not allow yourself to have a past and future thought. So I was practicing, I think a couple of days went by and I kept practicing that. And I started going into very high states of meditation from doing that exercise. But at that time I had very focused concentration at that point. I was very convicted of my process and my practice. And he called me at the end of the weekend and he said, I tried to do that exercise. And I said, well, how'd it go? And he said, oh, I just was going crazy after the first day. I couldn't do it anymore. And I said, why? And he just said, you can't live in the present. Your mind's all about the past and the future. And he learned something about his mind, but he didn't value it, what he learned. So when you sit and meditate, do you notice that your thoughts about the past or the future, right? You ever notice that? What they're about? A lot of times, there's so many things you can do that are life positive and sadhana positive, but that's your choice, see? You have to make the choice because as a tendency and as we've been raised in this culture, is mostly to pleasurable distraction and minimal amount of work we can do to get by. That's pretty much the philosophy most people have. And yet people expect a lot more out of their lives than putting that in, if you just put that in. So TV and phones and all those things are pretty much just mindless distractions. Getting and going to your job and just getting by instead of trying to improve yourself there is just another level of, not really going anywhere with your life. But people still expect great things to happen to them. Yeah. So you got to make your decisions. So if you're here to do sadhana and wake up, you have to make real decisions. As their teacher over the years, we would have different periods where we worked that I would give them my support and push and towards working a lot harder on the sadhana, a lot more direction with it. But now I feel it's just everybody's responsibility. So it's up to you. How hard do you push? What do you want? People always associate those feelings of bliss and happiness coming from having the girlfriend, having the boyfriend, having the experience of being admired or whatever. They all attribute it to outside instead of prior, instead of before. Outside, somewhere here. And they look for it there. So say you had a happy experience one day and you say, okay, what caused this? And you look all outside instead of saying it's not caused, it's causeless. It's not coming from somewhere. It's already here. But nobody has any conviction that it's already here. You've been trained your whole life to try to get happy, not to be located as happiness already. So you're always looking, you're always trying to come up with an idea how to get there and what's causing it if you get there, and more ideas about how to do it better. That's what you're going over. So you're sitting in meditation and you're going over all those ideas and you're overlooking that you're just sitting there and you're locating yourself as already happiness in the unified field of love. Because all thoughts about what? Trying to feel better somewhere in the past or in the future. Because nobody ever notices that they feel okay right now. It's almost impossible for people to notice that. See, if you notice that I feel okay right now, nothing has to happen. I don't have to think about the past to feel better. I don't have to have some kind of future. Nothing bad is happening right now. So is something actually good happening right now? Or is it just the absence of something not bad happening? What is now? But if you keep looking at it, it's okay, nothing bad's happening, but is something good happening? Well, you notice that happiness is not happening. It's where you are as yourself. It's not happening. So if you're there already, you can't miss it. But if you're looking for it and trying to own it, possess it with an idea, because that's what you're trying to do. Like, oh, I had a really nice moment the other day. I'm going to tell everybody and own it and possess it, and then think I'm somebody special and spiritual now because I had this moment. That's why, you shouldn't put spiritual people on real spiritual people on a pedestal, because they're just being naturally themselves all the time, like they are, like they truly, authentically are. That's not a status. I mean, if somebody paints a real nice picture, you can say, hey, that's a really nice picture, But it's not a status. It's kind of an insult to put spiritual people on a pedestal, a real spiritual person, because it's not a status. It's just actually what you are. So that would be to go around and put spiritual people on a pedestal and create status around them is insulting to them, actually, if they're really spiritual. Why? Because,
So the broken
you're making it
rests-
someplace else. So you can own them and possess them with your ideas about what's spiritual when you do that.
I see.
You're trying to get somewhere in the future to where they got somewhere. And they keep telling you, I didn't get anywhere. I just stopped trying to get somewhere, and then I'm here. I'm located as myself. And that gets deeper and deeper. So under all circumstances, you don't lose yourself. You don't begin to think like, oh, if I really got that dress, I'd be so much happier. Oh, if I went to Europe, I would have so much fun, and then I would get happier. None of that exists anymore. There's no future happiness. There's no past happiness. There's just this time right now, and time is not happiness. Time is not the unified field of love. So it's not really located in the present as time. It's not time either. What is it? So the exercise you are doing to locate it is, okay, if there's no past, don't go to the past to find happiness, don't go to the future. It's located here now. So what is now? Okay, well, there's nothing uncomfortable happening to me, so is that happiness? That would be a question, right? Okay, so you say, okay, nothing uncomfortable. Is that happiness if nothing uncomfortable is happening to me? Is that the happiness I'm looking for? Might be the next question. And then you might say, is this happiness good enough? See all the conditions you have on happiness?
Mm-hmm.
So all those questions are asking you what? That you have in your mind what the kind of happiness should be like. And what should it be like? Not the absence of nothing bad happening, but the actual presence of something very special happening. And you have all your very special ideas.
Yeah. What degree of happiness?
Yeah. So what if you examined all that and said, okay, I have all my ideas. Okay, nothing bad's happening to me. So I asked myself, is happiness happening now then? Am I happy now? Nothing bad. Is the absence of nothing bad happening? Is that happiness? Then you ask, well, is that kind of happiness I want? What else? Is there something to happiness besides just not anything bad happening? So if nothing bad's happening, is this happiness? That's where you stop, see? Because you have your idea what happiness should feel like. And so if nothing is happening, then it can't possibly be happiness. It can't be located there. It has to be located in some wow experience for you. You're looking for it in a wow experience. So sometimes people say, well, I feel, I had a oneness experience with God. But, yeah? Well, what's your idea of God, though? It's always back to these questions, You get back to like, well, what's their idea of God? So oneness with God as what? As energy? As a person? As a spiritual being that's a person? What's your idea?
What's the thought that gets to define it?
Yeah. There's always some thought behind your thought that you're looking for to be, that's your real thought about everything, that this is what I really want. So everybody thinks enlightenment is going to make you feel like, you're going along, okay. I just feel blissful. Nope, my ankle didn't hurt. Nope, nope, no. I don't have a stomach ache. Nope, my grandchild is not crying. Nope, nope, nope. She's not pooping her pants. Nope, nope, no. I don't have IBS. Nope, nope, no. All the things in life still happen. So what's the value of waking up? Nothing if you're looking for it all in life. You know, if you want it all, locate happiness all in life, it has nothing to do with life, really. It doesn't matter if enlightenment is here. It has nothing to do with life or not. It doesn't matter. Life doesn't matter. That's why the dream of saving the world or making it a better place doesn't matter for enlightenment. And enlightenment is so vast and so free and so non-located, and you can pinpoint it down. So what good is it for everybody dreaming here? You all have your ideas. You're dreaming here for. You all want something. So what is it like to be enlightened? What is it like to not be enlightened? Well, it surprises me what unenlightened people do all the time. Their choices seem full of pain and terrible consequences, but they won't acknowledge and learn by. That's what it's like to stay here and be awake. You see lots of people making terrible choices and that had terrible consequences, and then pointing the finger at somebody else. So they can't make a new process with it. That's what you see every day. I'm sure you see that in your own lives, right? So, doing sadhana is you can never blame anybody else for anything ever again. The blame game is not really important anyways. It's what are you learning? What can you learn by this mistake or this happening or this event? Because suffering is going to be there, and we all deserve it. Nobody thinks they deserve suffering. Believe me, you deserve it. Because we deserve happiness. So if we deserve happiness, we deserve suffering. We deserve everything. Everything we get, we deserve it. It's all grace. See, nobody thinks the difficult events are grace. They only think the happy events, where you have an experience of oneness. You think that's grace. You don't think the bad events are grace. Yeah. It's that cancer for like on and off for 10 years, right?
Yeah. When you were talking about pleasure, and you said, pleasure is like, I was thinking, it's like pain. It's just something in the room for you to learn who you really are in relationship to it, which isn't the thing that I'm grasping. I'm not that. I'm not this pain. I'm not this pleasure. It's just here.
Yeah. So, what's it like to be awake? Well, it's normal for me. I'm not afraid of death, and I'm not afraid of life. I'm not afraid of suffering. I can be happy under the most difficult circumstances, but not a gleeful, stupid kind of happy. The kind of happiness that brings dignity to the situation.